So the UAW aimed a historic stand-up strike against the tyranny of the big three automakers, who were suppressing auto worker wages for decades. The UAW strategically struck at certain plants under the cover of keeping the big three on their toes. But in reality, where you and I live, they just didn't have enough money for everyone to strike at the same time. Now, after their Eat the Rich campaign is over, all the politicians are done getting their photo ops, and now the real work begins for the UAW, which is picking who's gonna get fired. Because what if I told you that Stellantis will lay off thousands upon thousands of workers, and that is only the beginning.
When we looked at the numbers, Stellantis has the least amount of money on the table right now, the big three, and basically at 10 a.m. we're asking you to take your workers out on strike.
And unfortunately, Stellantis, being the most profitable company of the big three, is the furthest behind about where we stand right now with money on the table. So we felt we had no other choice but to take action here today, hit them where it hurts. The membership here is excited, they're invigorated and ready to go, and they're ready to fight for their share of economic justice. That's what we're here for, it's what it's all about. We want our fair share.
I'm going to make this very clear in the beginning. I support the UAW worker, not the UAW management, because it's always the worker that gets the shaft at the end of the day, while management stays doing what they always do. It wasn't just that long ago that UAW's management was swimming in corruption with some of the big three, while the workers suffered for years on compromised contracts. And why those workers was not compensated for decades of abuse shows you just how much government really cares about them. I don't understand how FCA, now Stellantis, wasn't part of a huge class action or even fined billions of dollars for suppressing worker wages from 2009 to 2016, when it is proven that they screwed UAW workers. Getting fined $30 million from a company that defrauded thousands of workers for 7 years is an insult to every UAW worker. If you take Chrysler and FCA's estimated profits during that time period, that fine only accounts for a 1.3% fine against their profits. And those profits were off the backs of every UAW worker. Now, our government thought the FCA, who they bailed out in the financial crisis, and who suckered the UAW worker into taking concessions, they thought 1.3% fine was justified for their pain and suffering for a decade. But during Dieselgate, around the same time period as the UAW corruption scandal, ironically, Volkswagen had to pay over $20 billion in various fines, penalties, and class action lawsuits because they sold emission cheating cars from 2009 to 2015. $20 billion. Oh, that's right. You know what? I forgot to mention that FCA was only fined $300 million a couple years ago for doing their own Dieselgate scandal. Now, why is the government taking such a soft hand against FCA Chrysler, but charge Volkswagen $20 billion? Is it because there's still some strings attached from when they bailed them out? So FCA screwed over workers and screwed over environment, and they still pay in 2 corruption scandals less money than Volkswagen did. Someone make it make sense. Didn't the government find $4 billion to give the victims of Bernie Madoff? $4 billion? But FCA, who screwed workers and the environment, they're not charged $1 billion in 2 scandals? Just saying. Why hasn't the UAW worker been fairly compensated for suffering under decades of corruption? That's the main reason I laughed at everybody who was all buddy-buddy with these same politicians who flew in for a UAW photo op and then flew right back home. Those people really don't give a fuck about your cause. Those were the same exact people who just a year ago removed the railroad workers' ability to strike, and still, over a year later, has not given them a bill to give them 7 days of sick leave. That's not even 1 day a month to be able to call out for work because you're sick.
UAW family, it is with great pride that I join you here today with Vice President Rich Boyer to announce yet another major victory in the stand-up strike. Today, we reached a tentative agreement with Stellantis. Today is the 44th day of our stand-up strike. 44 days.
So the UAW management They won a big victory against the big three. They won record contracts, and they're going to ride off to the sunset with this big victory because they took it to the man. Well, also took it to the woman because you got to include Mary Barra. But there is always a catch. When you play checkers with the masters of corruption, I mean chess, you lose out over the long haul. And now over 3,000 people will be fired by Stellantis around Valentine's Day 2024. And so these people are going to be laid off at mainly two plants that make mostly Jeep vehicles. One makes the Wrangler, one makes the Grand Cherokee. Stellantis' excuse to why the people are being laid off, because California is applying 2 tiers of climate enforcement, causing them to be subject to greater emission standards than Ford, BMW, Honda, and Volkswagen. And I thought we didn't have a 2-tier system of justice in America. And I also could have sworn that the Hurricane engine is so much better, it's so much efficient, and it's so much cleaner than Hemi engines.
We're putting the new inline 6 twin-turbo Hurricane engines in our truck lineup going forward, both in the standard output and the high output. The high output puts out 540 horsepower and 520 pound-feet of torque. Look, I love the 5.7 Hemi, but this puts out 145 more horsepower and 110 more pound-feet of torque than that engine that we love. This is the next evolution of ICE technology.
And Wrangler had its second best year yet. While Wrangler 4xe, launching only in April of last year, was the #1 plug-in electric vehicle in the United States last year. It was also awarded Ward's 10 Best. And it's already off to an incredible start here in 2022. Wrangler has the highest Q1 share of the industry yet, and our loyalty continues to grow, up 7% year over year. And Wrangler 4xe remains the #1 selling plug-in hybrid sold here in America. This spring, Grand Cherokee 4xe's start rolling off the assembly line. It's the first ever plug-in hybrid electric Grand Cherokee. It's a nameplate we are incredibly proud of, and the 4xe is a further proof of our commitment to the future, as we dare forward in our mission to embrace the Jeep brand's drive for zero emission freedom by 2030. Grand Cherokee 4xe is uncompromising, sophisticated, and remarkably capable. In fact, this is the most planet-friendly Grand Cherokee and the best in its class. It features 56 mpge, 25 miles of all-electric range, and as you expect from us, legendary 4-wheel drive.
It would be hilarious if this engine that so many people brought the pom-poms for can't pass carbon emissions and it's only been out for 2 years. None of the Jeep vehicles other than the Wrangler 392 has a Hemi in it. But Stellantis needs to reduce the workforce because California, even though they had the Wrangler and the Grand Cherokee 4xe versions. I seem to remember this issue with California and other carb states has been going on since April. So why now all of a sudden is the blame shifted to California for the layoffs? I thought EV and hybrid sales were on a rise. GM isn't on the list of companies that has special emissions exceptions from California, and they are still able to sell the Escalade V and the Corvettes that are so nasty polluting there in California. Stellantis' excuse smells very fishy. But Stellantis have been wanting to reduce the workforce ever since they told the Fib that this merger wouldn't result in job losses. And then they turn around in December of every single year, laying off workers. Just a month ago, they wanted to lay off 6,000 on their own, but in April, they wanted to lay off 33,000 workers. You heard it correctly, over 33,000. I've covered this for years, that Stellantis told us they were moving to a software company model. What? I've covered this for years, that Stellantis told us they was moving to a software-based company model. They're going to sell fewer vehicles at higher margins and software lock the cars with microtransactions, but customers pay over the life of the vehicle. Essentially subscription fees tied to millions of cars, which allow them to sell less cars, needing less workers, leading to less overhead while still increasing their profits.
If the past was about increasing margins by moving customers north in hardware and trim levels, our future is about offering customers software-based services. We are already seeing a healthy conversion from free trials to paid subscriptions, and we expect a 10-fold growth by 2030. Moving to the second pillar, features on demand. We will give our customers the ability to upgrade their vehicles in real time.
By supporting the industry's push for electrification, even though the government doesn't want to make a single charging station to charge them, the UAW's management has hung the workers out to dry, but the workers just don't know it yet. Which is probably why the UAW's management is trying to add new companies under their umbrella, to make up for the lost union dues. I mean, for solidarity. Just saying. But let me know what you guys think. Does record contract truly mean record layoffs? Make sure you leave this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you already done so. And until the next time, I'm out. You funky baby!
With this agreement, we're going from defense to offense. We're going from the managed decline of the American working class to a new era of auto manufacturing. They told us for years that the electric vehicle transition was a death sentence for good auto jobs in this country.